DETV News is brought to you by DART, Delaware Public Transit Service, moving you forward.
Residents slammed by last week's historic flooding on Wilmington's northeast side came out to a recovery resource fair on Tuesday. Some still have no place to stay.
And a second wave of students headed back to school on Tuesday and Wednesday. We visited one charter school whose annual tradition of greeting the students brings out the community.
And it's been 20 years since the 9/11 terrorist attacks on America. DETV talks to one person who lost her father. Those stories are ahead with your local sports and weather. Stay with us for DETV News. Hello and welcome to DETV News. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Matt Ford. Thanks for joining us today.
Representatives from 22 different agencies were stationed at tables in the gymnasium at the warehouse on Thatcher Street Tuesday. They were there to assist flood victims with their immediate and long-term needs. Some still have no place to live now. The warehouse, operated by the work group, also distributed items donated by the public since the storm and set up rows of clothing and tables with diapers, formula, snacks, cleaning supplies, and other items desperately needed by the victims. About 250 homes and numerous businesses in the 17-block area of Wilmington's northeast side were flooded last Thursday when remnants of Hurricane Ida brought nearly 10 inches of rain, causing the Brandywine River to crest at historic levels. While many Wilmington residents praised the city's response to the disaster, other residents, still reeling from their losses, called the efforts inadequate.
It's inadequate. This right here should have happened 4 or 5 days ago. Thursday, I had to leave my building on a boat. Got to a PAL center. They didn't do nothing but test us for COVID. And they have us sit around. They want us to sleep in the gym. I've been sleeping in the back of my work van for the past 4 or 5 days because I haven't gotten anywhere to stay at. Have barely been asleep in the last 4 to 5 days. All of that because this situation isn't handled the way it should have been handled. I feel it's been handled the way COVID was handled when it first happened. It's inadequate.
A number of elected officials were also on hand for the event. Governor John Carney spoke to reporters.
Yeah, people are almost ready to go back in, and then you have people that have a longer term problem. So it's the biggest issue that I hear this morning from folks who've come out to get services.
Wilmington Mayor Mike Przicki also attended the resource fair. He talked to DETV News. Matt, you filed this report.
That's right, Lauren. The mayor gave an assessment of how he thought the city fared after the disaster. Take a look. The mayor gave his city high marks for cleanup efforts and assistance to residents in the immediate aftermath of the flooding.
I think the job one for us was to get the water away from places where people were living. It was to pump out basements. It was to clean the streets, get the mud off the streets, take the 125 tons of trash away from that was let outside. I think our public works people did a remarkable job.
The city has been a little overwhelmed by the longer-term needs of residents, with an estimated 60 residents with still nowhere to live.
I don't know what we could have done, but we didn't do enough. But well, let's put it this way. The public sector itself didn't do enough. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, or certainly once in, maybe twice in a lifetime. And so the scope of the problem was just more than we were equipped to handle. And now you've got people whose homes are uninhabitable because of gas, electric, the infrastructure to go in and re-inspect all the properties and then get them back to code again is just can't be responsive enough. The scale's too hard. And so those folks have to be moved, and it's not just picking them up and moving to an apartment because there's no furniture. Now you got to figure out where they go. And so we just spoke to some woman who just took her tenants and moved them to Newark. So that's what we're looking at. In the city, we don't have the capacity to move people into a hotel, so we're going other places.
One continuing bright spot, he said, has been the outpouring of donations to the residents from both inside and out of Wilmington.
The bright side of these terrible events is it brings out the best in human beings, and our community was certainly no exception. We had people, I mentioned earlier that everybody along 14th and 15th Street were out helping one another clean out their garages and pick up the heavy stuff and taking it out to the curb. So, that was that kind of internal team effort, but we had people coming from all over the county coming here to volunteer and do whatever they could to help others. And I think that's the bright spot here. It shows you that we're a good community, and nobody's alone. We're all in this together.
The city also launched a crisis cleanup hotline number. Residents can call the toll-free number to be connected with local volunteer groups that may assist with cutting fallen trees, removing drywall, flooring, appliances, tarping roofs, and mold mitigation. The number to call is on your screen. In partnership with the Delaware volunteer organizations active in disaster, these services are performed free of charge by volunteers. The Crisis Cleanup Hotline will remain open until Friday, October 1st. Also on Wednesday, the Delaware Emergency Management Agency announced a new flood cleanup assistance program providing cleanup services for qualifying households through the Milford Housing Development Corporation. Cleanup services available may include mucking, removal of damaged drywall, moisture control, minor structural repairs, and insurance premium assistance. Residents can apply for the program by calling this number on your screen. Eligibility includes earning less than $52,000 per year for a single household and higher limits for families.
It was a surprise reunion for a Wilmington family Thursday at the Newcastle Elementary School. When Staff Sergeant Alexis Bowers was deployed to Kuwait in July with the Air National Guard, she knew she would miss her son's first day of kindergarten. When she arrived back in the States on September 7th, she arranged to surprise her husband, son Anthony Jr., and daughter Alani at the school. Her husband Anthony Sr. was called to school under the pretense that his son was not feeling well. When he exited the school, the family was surprised to see Alexis was home.
It means the world that I was able to make it home safely, and that, my husband did the great job he did while I was gone. I'm grateful for my family and friends' love and support, and just being able to get back home to them. It was hard missing his first day of kindergarten, so made up for it.
The reunited family stood hugging and posing for pictures in the rain.
It was hard. I cried. I knew in advance that I was going to miss it, and I had a meltdown then. But, it comes with what we sign up for, so I just had to bite the bullet and get through it. But I knew it wouldn't take long before I got back home, so I'm just glad I didn't miss too much of the school year or anything.
It was round 2 for school openings Tuesday and Wednesday mornings as Christina School District students in Newcastle County and numerous districts downstate welcomed students back after 18 long months at home due to COVID. Community members dressed in business attire greeted returning students at the Stubbs Elementary School in the Christina School District. At Eastside Charter School in Wilmington, more than 40 community leaders lined up to greet students on their first day back. In the annual tradition called Suit Up, Show Up, school officials have asked community leaders and professionals for the past 5 years to don professional attire and greet the students. School Chief Executive Officer Aaron Bass says the event sends a positive message to the students.
The purpose of the day, our Suit Up Show Up event, is one, we want our students and our staff to feel welcome. We are coming back to school after a pandemic. This is the first time we've had every staff and every student in the building since March of 2020. So for us, with the increase in violence, with the increase in death, with the flooding that just took place here in this area, this is the perfect time to let everyone know that they are loved and that they are welcomed here.
With music playing in the background, 2 lines of community leaders, including Mayor Mike Purzycki, City Council President Trippy Congo, State Senators Tizzy Lockman and Nicole Poore, church leaders and others gave arriving students an elbow bump and a cheer as they made their way to school. A parent of 2 students said she appreciates events like this.
For everybody to show up and cheer them in on their first day is it gives them a little bit of hope, especially coming back after COVID. It gives them some hope. It gives them some encouragement to know that people in the community really care about what they're doing here and care about their well-being.
Another annual event is coming up Saturday, one that will never be forgotten. Ceremonies marking the September 11th attacks on America will be held throughout the country. But for one Delaware woman, the day thousands of innocent people and first responders were killed by terrorists hits home because her father was among the victims. Lauren, that woman talked to DETV, and here's your report.
Michael Phillip was at his desk on the 104th floor of the World Trade Center 2 when the first building was struck 20 years ago. He told one of his 2 daughters who worked at World Trade Center 5 that he was sitting tight. He wasn't in the impacted building. Less than an hour later, his building was the first to fall. His second daughter, Jill Abbott, was at her job at Winterthur when a colleague told her what was going on. She called her father, then her sister, but got no answer. With no television at work and no minute-by-minute social media platforms that exist today, she thought it was odd but wasn't really alarmed until her mother called.
At about 10 o'clock, my mom finally got through. A telephone call to me. And I remember her saying to me, it's very bad and Daddy's tower just collapsed.
Jill and her husband drove to her family's home in northern New Jersey. 6 months pregnant, she spent days on the phone, clinging to hope her father somehow survived.
You know, I really thought for about 10 or 14 days that we would find my father. I was convinced that I would find my father.
Jill says it was 2 agonizing weeks later when she had to accept her father was gone.
Somebody said, they're not.
Today, Jill is grateful her father knew she was pregnant with plans to name a boy after him. When the baby turned out to be a girl, they named her Michelle. She goes by Mickey, the same nickname as her grandfather, but Jill believes they share more than that.
There is definitely a part of him in her, and she carries that every day. A lot of his personality, the softer personality, is Mickey.
As they have every year, Jill will travel to Ground Zero for the reading of 2,750 names of those who perished. She'll also attend a memorial service at her church in Bridgewood, New Jersey, where 12 families had someone in the towers. Happy to talk about her dad, Jill said she has always been able to tell her story. She is grateful, she said, that this is a day we all remember.
Keeping his spirit alive and everyone else's is important. Saturday will be, it is a very different anniversary in the sense that everybody has a loss. Everyone's lost someone special to them, family member, parents, children. The difference is that when somebody loses someone, we don't necessarily know that anniversary day. And in a way, I'm lucky that Saturday comes and I have all the support around me on that day, as difficult as that is. And again, it was an enormous loss and it goes well beyond personal. But I often think about my friends and the anniversaries of people that they've lost. And they don't necessarily have that support that day. So I feel that it's important for me to share the story because I have all that support when others don't necessarily have that support on a difficult day for them.
Our hearts go out to Jill Abbott and all of the other families who lost loved ones on September 11th.
As we go to break, here are some community events planned to mark the anniversary. Stay with us. You're watching DETV News.
thank God for my life and for the stars and stripes. May freedom forever fly. Let it ring. Salute the ones who died, the ones that give their lives so we don't have to sacrifice all the things we love.
Thank you, and welcome home.
Like our chicken fries.
Welcome back to DETV News. 4 people were hospitalized after a shooting in the Southbridge neighborhood of Wilmington on Tuesday afternoon. According to a brief statement released by police, officers responded to A Street and Newcastle Streets shortly after 4 p.m. Police found 4 gunshot victims, including 3 women ages 48 to 55 and a 57-year-old man listed in critical condition. Anyone with information about the shooting is encouraged to call Detective Anthony Ford at 302-576-3606.
And a 52-year-old Wilmington man was carjacked in broad daylight Tuesday. It happened at this convenience store on Philadelphia Pike in Claymont shortly before 8 a.m. Police say 2 masked men approached a man who was sitting inside his car with the door cracked open while getting gas at the pumps. One of the suspects pointed a gun at the man and demanded his keys. Police say the victim refused, and that's when the other suspect assaulted him. Both men pulled the driver out of the car. The bandits drove off and headed north on Philadelphia Pike. Hours later, the car was recovered in Philly. The case remains under investigation. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIP-3333.
Health officials announced the state's first human case of West Nile virus since 2018, saying a 69-year-old Kent County man was infected. An investigation is underway to confirm any travel history or sources that could have led to the transmission. The health department is not releasing the man's name or other information to protect his privacy. State health officials say West Nile can be very serious and even deadly, particularly in vulnerable populations. 10 human West Nile cases were reported in Delaware in 2018. Those cases included 2 deaths. The virus is a mosquito-borne illness generally transmitted in summer and fall. The peak period is from mid-August to mid-October. Health officials urge people to wear insect repellent when going outdoors.
Also in Kent County, a fox who tested positive for rabies has put people on alert. Anyone who lives or spends time near Route 16 in Greenwood between Judy and Century Farm Road should be aware that a person was bitten by a rabid fox last Friday. That person is being treated now. Anyone who may have been bitten, scratched, or had any contact with a fox in that area is asked to see a doctor immediately or call the Delaware Division of Public Health at the number on your screen. Pets should also be vaccinated.
In other news, a major announcement for the president's home state. The Biden administration awarded Delaware a little more than $10.8 million for Medicaid and Medicare services to improve access to affordable, comprehensive health care coverage. The Diamond State is one of 13 to receive the so-called pass-through funding. President Biden also tapped former Governor Jack Markell to temporarily serve as his point person on resettling Afghan evacuees in the United States. Markell, Delaware's former governor and a close advisor to the president, will be the White House coordinator of what the administration is calling Operation Allies Welcome. He is expected to stay through the end of this year. Markell will work with state and local governments, the business sector, religious institutions, and nonprofit organizations to ensure the resettlement runs smoothly. He'll also focus on screening of evacuees and COVID precautions, which begin before they arrive in the country, but will require follow-up in the United States.
And the president handpicked another Delawarean for a national position. Biden announced he'll appoint Delaware State University President Tony Allen as chair of the president's Board of Advisors on historically Black colleges and universities. Allen has gained national attention through successful fundraising, netting $40 million for the university last year despite the pandemic. He's also made many national TV appearances and served as the chief executive officer of Biden's presidential inaugural ceremonies. Stay with us. It looks like we can expect beautiful weather ahead. Here's your local forecast after the break. You're watching DETV News.
As soon as I got here, I just felt the warm embrace of the community, man. Like what y'all got going on is wonderful. And no wonder y'all called the work group, because y'all putting that work in. For real, seriously, y'all getting the work done.
We are committed to creating the best Riverside we can with the community, for the community.
Welcome back. It may not be the question on everyone's mind, but there's no doubt that taffy lovers are interested on what's going to happen to that iconic Dolly's sign on the Rehoboth Beach Boardwalk. It appears city officials will get first dibs on the sign's future location. Rehoboth's mayor says Dolly's is graciously offering to donate the iconic sign to the city for free. Where it will go still remains to be determined, but it must be taken off the building by December 31st. The store's owners announced last December they would be moving the well-known caramel popcorn, candy, and taffy store to their other candy shop, Ibox Candy by the Sea, just a few storefronts away on Rehoboth Avenue. Now empty, the multi-million-dollar boardwalk building that originally housed Dolly's has been purchased by Grotto's Pizza, which will reconfigure the space.
And if you visited the beach this summer, you probably noticed how crowded it was. According to the Rehoboth Beach Dewey Chamber of Commerce, it was a record-breaking summer coming off of the heels of a dismal summer before linked to the pandemic. While traffic counts aren't in, housing accommodations showed a 98% plus occupancy every weekend all summer long. Staffing was an issue because there were fewer foreign exchange students on hand, but neither that nor the Delta variant kept some worshipers away. One of the biggest beach festivals is even making a comeback. The Sea Witch Festival is still on schedule for Halloween weekend. In other news, 49 cats living in inhumane, deplorable conditions were taken from the home of an Ellesmere woman who was charged with dozens of counts of animal cruelty. The Delaware Office of Animal Welfare responded to the home of a 64-year-old woman after receiving a complaint. 49 cats, 4 of whom were dead inside, were found in the home. The woman was released on her own recognizance pending a court hearing and is prohibited from possessing domestic animals. The cats were transferred to the Brandywine Valley SPCA, where they will receive care and treatment. Most are under-socialized, so the SPCA hopes to place them under the care of those with barns, warehouses, greenhouses, and other locations where the cats can live independently. Those interested in adopting should contact the Brandywine Valley SPCA's Newcastle campus. Stay with us. Nick will be here with your local sports report next. You're streaming DETV News. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you like to have my seat?
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back inside DETV News. I'm Nick Alessandrini, and fall sports are officially underway here in Delaware, and we had some great Week 0 games to kick off our season. So let's start with some recaps from last week's top matchups, and we'll begin with the new 3A class in the matchup between number 5 Sally's and Cape Henlopen. Sally's and Cape again kicking it off on Thursday night, and Sally's trying to get on the board first. Campbell going to hand off straight up the middle to Cooper Brown, and he's able to get in the end zone. That starts the scoring, and then a little bit later on in the first quarter this time, Campbell going to keep it himself, pull it, and take it into the end zone. Big win for Sally's, 28-20 over Cape Henlopen. The only change in our rankings coming with Sally's leaping William Penn for that 4th spot with that big win and William Penn loss. So it's a big win for the Sals, but some other great games in week 0 as well. Second game of the week, week 0, Laurel versus Sussex Tech. Again, this one downstate, and Laurel going to get the scoring started early, 0-0 as Shockley Ames heads down the middle of the field, has Javier White who beats his defender. He catches it at the 50, and he's going to go the rest of the way. 41-8 the final as Laurel gets the win over Sussex Tech. And our last recap from week 0 coming to you from Milford High School, where the Bucks would welcome Cambridge South Dorchester, a school from Maryland, and the Bucks would get off to a hot start and never look back. And our last matchup of week 0, it's Cambridge South Dorchester taking the trip to Delaware to take on the Milford Buccaneers at home, and it was the Aaron Civil show. Here he is, 55-yard touchdown to get things started. 34-14, Milford gets the win against out-of-state South Dorchester. Some other scores from over the weekend. Hodson tops CR with the help of Josh Ames, 188 yards on the ground for him. 5 turnovers forced by that Hodson defense in the 20-7 win over Cesar Rodney. Big shutout for Sussex Central in their opener. They get the 20-0 win over William Penn. And the St. Mark's High School Spartans get a 41-0 victory over AI with 116 yards and 3 touchdowns from Artisan on the ground. Some games to look forward to. Tonight we have Concord and Howard. Tomorrow we'll have Sally's and Sussex Central, as well as Woodbridge versus Cape Henlopen. And Saturday, Red Lion and St. Mark's. Those are just a few of the many great games coming up in week 1 this weekend. Now on to college football, as the number 6 ranked University of Delaware Blue Hens opened up their season NCAA play last week, and they got the job done. A tough battle in Orono, Maine against the Black Bears, but the Hens found a way to pull it out as they went out to a 17-0 lead early before finding themselves trailing 24-17 at the half. Delaware, though, would end the game on a 17-0 run and get the victory on the road, 34-24. Nolan Henderson finished 14 of 29 for 262 yards and 2 TDs, and reigning CAA Offensive Player of the Year, Dejan Lee, added 59 yards on 16 carries. The Hens are back in action for their home opener on Saturday at 6 o'clock, where they will take on the St. Francis Red Flash. It's the first home game for the Hens in Newark with full capacity since before the pandemic, but some guidelines have been put in place. Effective tomorrow, September 10th, all visitors to UD events will be required to show proof of vaccination or a negative PCR COVID test taken at least 72 hours prior to game day. In a statement, the university is taking this measure to help protect the UD community, including visitors to our campus, against the spread of the virus. The policy will apply to all those in attendance 12 and over, and while children under the age of 12 do not have to provide a negative test or proof of vaccination, they are required to wear a mask. The wait is finally over as the Eagles are set to open up their 21-22 season on the road in Atlanta on Sunday at 1 o'clock. We'll get our first look at the Birds, head coach Nick Sirianni, and quarterback Jalen Hurts, who took just 10 snaps in the entire preseason. Oddsmakers have the Eagles as a 3-point underdog on the road on Sunday, and they predict the Birds to finish last in the NFC East. Lauren, Matt, not so sure about that one. We'll have to wait and see. But now time for our top plays of the week, and there are some good ones here from week 0. It's going to get started with Donovan Artis from St. Mark's. We talked about his good game. Check out this touchdown rush. St. Mark's able to win 41-0 at home, and he was a big reason why. Here he breaks a few defenders' ankles and going to show off the speed straight up the middle into the end zone. 1 of 3 for him last week. Then over to Aaron Civils and Desmond Aladuje. Here's that 33-yard touchdown run. Check out the lead block from Aladuje here. Civils takes the handoff. He's going to follow his blockers, and he should, because they are going to clear a path for him. Easy walk-in touchdown for Civils. Again, 1 of 3 for the Milford Buccaneers. You see the slow-mo. What a block right there by Aladuje. On to number 2, Sean Saxon to Andrew Kravitz. This one coming in that big win for Milford over Dorchester. Here, Saxon going to air it out. Beautiful fade pattern caught in the corner of the end zone by A.J. Kravitz. He hauls it in. Milford, again, impressive showing for them in week 0. Now on to our top play of the week, again in a week of some good ones, and it was from the Laurel Bulldogs. It was Shockley to Javier White, and you saw this one earlier as well. Shockley drops back, one-on-one coverage. He's just going to run right by the defense, catches it at the 40. There go the Jets, 30, 15, 20. He's going to find himself in the end zone. Again, that play kicking off the scoring for Laurel in a game that they did a bunch of And again, Laurel with a big win over Sussex Tech, and that's your top 4 plays of week 0. And that'll do it for sports this week, but a lot going on. Some great high school action Friday and Saturday. University of Delaware back at home for the first time since the pandemic in Newark against St. Francis on Saturday, and the Eagles. They're opening up on the road in Atlanta on Sunday. Some fantastic stuff to look forward to. So that'll do it. We'll be right back with more DETV news after the break.
Welcome back. A former General Assembly employee accused of stealing money that had been donated to a colleague as a retirement gift was convicted recently on 2 felony counts. Dawn Hill was found guilty of theft from a person aged 62 or older and issuing a bad check over $1,500. Hill is scheduled to be sentenced on September 16th. Prosecutors are not seeking prison time, but will instead ask for probation and restitution. Hill, who worked as an executive assistant to the legislature's Comptroller General, was accused of taking money raised in 2018 for former Secretary of the Senate Bernard Brady and using it to pay her credit card bills. Brady retired in 2018. Hill led a fundraising effort among lawmakers and legislative staffers to raise money to fund a trip to Ireland for him. Brady testified that he told Hill to hold on to the money until he was ready to book the trip, but prosecutors say she instead spent it on herself.
A retired Kent County judge is looking to become Delaware's next Attorney General. Republican Charles Welsh kicked off his 2022 race for the AG's office. Welsh recently retired as a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. Prior to serving as a judge, he was a state representative serving the 29th District northwest of Dover. He's now looking to challenge incumbent Kathy Jennings. Welch says Jennings is too lenient on criminals and drug dealers. He argues Jennings' efforts to reform the bail system have only caused more violence on Delaware streets. He promises to crack down on violent criminals and address the opioid epidemic. Welch will likely face a GOP primary first. Julianne Murray, who unsuccessfully ran for governor last year, has indicated she'll announce a run later this month. Jennings has yet to announce her re-election plans, and no other Democratic challengers have come forward.
And Delaware will be making its mark on the hit TV show Dancing with the Stars.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Jimmy Allen here, and I'm definitely made for these dancing shoes.
That's right, Delaware native and country music superstar Jimmy Allen will be taking his best shot at the dancing competition this upcoming season. The singer is known for giving back to his community. Last year, he performed 2 concerts at the Rusty Rudder in Dewey, raising over $20,000 for the H.O. Brittingham Elementary School in Milton. In May of this year, he performed a sold-out concert at the Bottle and Cork to benefit the family of fallen Delmar Police Corporal Keith Hecook. Just last month, Jimmy was the keynote speaker at the annual Millennial Summit here in Wilmington. Allen, who moved from Milton to Nashville in 2007, made history as the first Black artist to start a career with 2 back-to-back #1 hits. The reigning Academy of Country Music New Male Artist of the Year will make his debut on the dance floor September 20th on ABC.
And finally, I have some news about my colleague here. DETV is proud to announce our very own Matt Ford, co-anchor and producer of the news, has been named the Delaware Business Times 40 Under 40 for 2021. Editors say the honor is awarded to a select group of the region's best and brightest young professionals who are making a difference with their intelligence, initiative, and innovation. In addition to his full-time job as a communication manager for a Fortune 500 company, Matt teaches communications at Delaware Technical and Community College. He started with DETV in April after reading about the vision of DETV's founder, Ivan Thomas, and his plans for a Delaware-only news show. Matt is also active in the Jefferson Health Mentors Program, as well as Christiana Care's Stroke Support Group. From all of us here at DETV News, congratulations. Matt, I think the magazine made a perfect choice.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate that. And thank you to DBT Delaware Business Times. I really appreciate the honor, and I'm looking forward to meeting the other 39 honorees on October 7th is when they have the ceremony, and the magazine is out October 5th is what they told me. So
I'll be sure to get a copy.
Thank you so much. I'll sign it for you.
That wraps up our show for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm Lauren Wilson.
For all of us here at DETV, stay well. I'm Matt Ford. We will see you next time.
DETV News is brought to you by DART, Delaware Public Transit Service.